So we've got a pretty exciting story. We've been watching both of these players play, Bosse and Nicoract there, battle it out. So we're going to be excited to show you guys those matches. Now, if you're not familiar, Bosse had been playing in the weeklies, qualified up from having enough points, doing very well, usually making it into the top 4, top 2 of the weeklies, and so that's why it's awesome to see him make it up to the winter semifinals. Nicoract there is one of those players that qualified at the last chance qualifier, so we got to see him do well at the last chance qualifier, but now we're going to get into it in this best of 5 to see how things work out between these two players here. So let's get ready. We're going to jump into things momentarily. Let's get it started up here. So spawning up here in the north, representing our red celestial player, he is Nicoract. And we've got the, of course, normal stuff creeping things out to start with. But his opponent spawning in the south, representing the Infernal host. It is our blue Infernal player, Bosse. All right, so the normal stuff that you'd expect to see on our map of choice here to start things out is going to be that kind of initial aggression, the creeping over here, take control, because again, you get a huge influx of resources of that therium there, the luminite, I mean, as you're going to be gathering up and taking over this camp the best you can. Now, it's like just kind of that big boost. We'll start getting our power banks up and then the creation chamber to follow things up here. But what's nice and why so many Celestial players like this map is because you get to have so many forward locations. There are islands essentially on this map that Celestials get access to that other players do not, because you can just kind of easily take control of those. So yeah, very, very cool to see. But we get a very aggressive collection array. We're getting up to 3 bases very, very quickly here for our Celestial player. On the other side, we're getting kind of the 1 base opener here of let's creep up, let's build up a big boost in our economy that way before we go and take our own expansion here. So utilizing our Hexen, which is this little spellcaster here, to kind of help us creep up and gather up as much of these fiends as possible. It is that infestability that helps us to create these fiends. So this very aggressive start and opening to creep out on the map is kind of what you want to be doing. So if you're a fan of the micro-intensive factions, Celestials might not be as the race that you want to be picking, where Infernals is very aggressive, very micro-intensive in the early stages, and then it kind of gets into a little bit more swarming, where Celestials is a very different faction because you've got max supply to start with, right? You can get up to 300. You don't have to worry about building supply depots or farms or things like that. You could just slowly kind of build up as long as you've got the resources. Now, you need your power banks. The power banks, of course, help to give your units that extra boost in the production tabs. You see them just kind of popping out so quickly and allows you that kind of huge influx of fighting forces. The Argents are the kind of ground forces that we get to start with. They've got a ranged attack. They've got this energy that has them the ability to deal more damage as long as they've got that energy there. But now we get to see kind of the continual progression of creep camping over here. But the Argents will take over the watchtower closest to the base. And now that's kind of that indication, oh, I know where your army's at here. Can we get caught here? He's got to be careful. That Hexen there is going to be very, very weak if he's kind of left out here, and that seems to be the case. We're going to get a couple of pot shots on him, but he's on the run here. This little distraction of forcing the Argents away, though, allows these slow-moving brutes to get on out. So that was the nice little thing there. And, oh, does he get out? Almost retreats. He tried to go for the recall there, but unable to successfully do that. So losing the Hexen is a little bit sad. All right, back on over here. We're going to be seeing that additional tech up take place for our Infernal players. Can you hear Sophie yelling in the background? The additional tech up in the sense that we're going to be getting up the Greater Shrine as soon as our Ritual Chamber is done. We've got the Conclave added on, and you kind of go to that natural progression. We'll be getting our upgrades going, stuff like that. But over here, Fiend's getting caught out. They did get the Scout off, though. That's really nice to be able to catch that collection array. Of course, Sovereign's Watch get used, turning our structure into a defensive tower there to deal some damage for a short period of time. So, very, very cool. And here, Sophie. She wants to be casting too, apparently. She's telling us what's what. All right, now we're going to be adding in our upgrades here. Photon Restoration helps boost up our speed of our Argents and helps them boost up their energy restoration. We talked about how much they weaken when they don't have enough energy there. So this is going to be one of those awesome things there. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the follows. Glad you're liking the stream today. We're going to be casting up all day long here. But we're starting things out with a really exciting back and forth match between these two players here. So it's going to be tough for both to kind of react with. You can look at the supplies. Now, it's not necessarily very telling yet about how things are shifting. But the thing that we're going to notice is this difference in supply count is going to continue to get wider and wider by having this third base up and running earlier. It's going to be a point of contention that Bosse is wanting to fight over, but he's got to be very careful here because he's got his third base up and it's about to get scouted here as this big Argent push is about to hit and try to just snipe this out. Look, we see the imps trying to evacuate, try to get out of here. They will get cleaned up, but the rest of the army is allowed to kind of decide, make the choice. Do we just give up this base, forfeit it here, or do we try to fight it? It's going to be dangerous to try to fight in this location here, just with the amount of Argents. So letting this base go down is painful. It's a lot of resources committed to it, but it also weakens the amount of energy that these Argents have for the next push. You can see them slowly building up. That upgrade making a big help, and boom, big reveal going to come out here. We do see the additional tech up, Hellborns. I love this addition here. Look at this little shotgun blast that it does here. Splashing down, trying to deal some extra damage. And there's the emergency Shroud Stone coming up, trying to help here. We've got the meat farms. We've got a little bit supply cap, so Bosse is kind of in this struggle mode, trying to produce units here, but there is the pounce on top of the Hellborn, not going to allow him to kind of deal that extra damage. All of the gaunts, the extra DPS needed for this army, are getting shredded in the process, and Nicoract is knocking on the front door saying, hey, what do you got to deal with my Argent push here? And there's more and more brutes coming out as these meat farms finished up, allowing us to kind of dump our supply out here. But look how slow brutes are. They're so slow. We really need to kind of allow the Hellborns, allow these gaunts to deal damage, but we are forced to retreat back on over here. Going to rely heavily on getting onto that Shroud. Oh, we could not get there. There's the Magmadon going to try to come out here, doing a little bit of a stampede, stomping his way forward here and doing work. Now, this little push here left some of the Argents in the dust, allowing all these Fiends to come over here and start dealing additional damage, cleaning up that fighting force here. So good hold for Bosse, having that defender's advantage, making a big difference in this fight here. But this allows Bosse, of course, to get in, take up this camp, and be able to kind of heal up for a bit here, get some additional resources. But that's what we were talking about, is that supply difference here. Now we're going to have to see another third base attempt to get taken, but Nicoract is not done with his push. He's coming in. He's going to take these watchtowers here. He's going to fight over here, and we're going to keep an eye and see, will he start transitioning into the Kree here, or is he just going all Argents all the time here? Oh, the Starforge transition. Nice. So we're probably going to be seeing some Scythe get added into the mix, which is really powerful when you start to see your Infernal opponent going for these higher tech units like the Hellborns, like our Magmadons. You get this kind of idea of, oh, they have all of this anti-ground fighting force here, but they do not have as much of an anti-air, right? They're kind of reducing the amount of gaunts that they have access to, so the Scythe transition can be able to come in here and fly in and start picking apart. All right. Fiends going to be able to get up and move. And now this is one of these nice things of having Fiends and being an Infernal player that you need to start practicing, is there are going to be camps all over the map. If you can send your Fiends out there to capture them in these locations, you're going to be in a very nice spot. You just keep forcing your opponent back and forth, delaying them as much as possible, but we have to get our third base up. The longer this goes on, the more that it's going to be falling in favor of our Celestial player and his powerful economy here. We see there the Scythes, they're getting added into the mix here. We've got our Argent fighting force up at the front, being annoying, trying to distract him. the watchtower will be taken over, seeing how big of a force that is. You want to be able to regroup up here, but pay close attention to the amount of gaunts that we see in this army and the amount of scythes that are going to start getting added into the rest of the army here. So he's keeping them hidden. I love this. Try to keep it away from your opponent, not giving them the information that they need. Just stay with this hardy Argent force to be able to kind of absorb the front line stuff and then go from there. Now, this is what we were talking about, as allowing the Infernal to be able to zip around the map, use their Fiend's mobility to be able to capture these different locations like this. And this, of course, allows us to try to take our third base while we're also creeping up and getting these different towers. These Luminite towers that we've got on the outside are going to be very nice. We get that, of course, additional resources from these, and big influx here of our different resources, our Luminite, our Xite. We're going to be really powering up, ready for that next stage here. But the scythes are out. The fleet is coming down. We've got a great ground force here. And look, more and more Fiends going to be annoying, distracting, trying to say, pay attention to me over here, as the scythes are going to dive on this base. But look, we've got so many forces already over here ready to defend. The scythes actually going to be trying to get caught off guard. Nice little effigy coming down. The totem going to try to help add a little bit of extra armor, but look how quickly these gaunts fall apart here. Just piles of bones where they once stood. Now, that is one of those things that they are very powerful in their damage, but very weak in health and armor. So we have this kind of danger. Oh, nice. The Shadow Flyers coming in, going to help a mix there. Of course, those Scourge flying in, using those explosions to try to deal damage. But look at this. The ground forces are now all that's left, and they can pretty much get picked apart by the scythe. A nice little Shroud Stone emergency comes out here. We got one last scythe there, and there's the next big flux of gaunts coming in to try to push these scythes back. But look at the Argents powering up over here, dealing some extra damage and doing their best to kind of hold the line, keep pushing them forward. But the entire air army is gone. The gaunts were able to do a lot of extra damage. More effigies coming out for that additional armor as well here. And we do see the Argents are single targeting, picking them apart. But this is that defender's advantage we were talking about. The more influx of units are coming across here. But there's the next wave of scythe. Can this be enough for our Celestial player? He's pushing forward more and more. More Argents still marching their way forward here. The scythes are basically just fighting solely against the gaunts, allowing the Argents to continue to walk their way forward here. But there's the next wave of Argents, and this base is going to be forfeit again and again. This is constant pressure being put on this third base here, really preventing any additional Luminite from getting into Bosse's hands here. And that's what we're starting to see, that huge differential in supplies because of that. Right, we've had our third base up for so long as a Celestial player, and now we're kind of in this utilizing all those resources to get this powerful army. But we know we can't just kind of push up here and end the game with this alone, because that's where we get hit with Magmadons, we get hit with stuff like that. But this is going to be very dangerous. We start to see the Infest coming out here. He's got to make sure that he's not fighting in an awkward position here. So he's going to fall back, utilize this health here to be able to heal up his own units. Got to recharge back up here, getting our energy back up here, ready to go for our next push here. We're going to take over our watchtower. In the meantime, we're continuing up, powering up back at home, getting our productions up and running. There's the Stampede. That's what we're talking about, getting in here on the ground. But look at just the amount of DPS that's with this army here. All of the gaunts are destroyed, and we see GG's. Bosse taps out in game number 1 here. What a exciting start to our series. That was a really, really fast-paced game there. Very cool to be able to see. I mean, a big part of that was that denial on the third base. I mean, there are so many maps right now that players could be able to pick and choose from in this series, but it just feels like there are certain maps that are more favored for one faction over the other, and that is one of those. Like Boneyard just feels more of a Celestial map. Yeah, there's those aspects of, oh, I can send my Fiends and go and creep and do things like that, but it's just like when you see just how easy it is for the Celestials to take bases and stuff like that uncontested, it makes it tough. Now, I like that game plan that we saw from Nicoract there as well, of going for the very heavy investment into the Argents. Oftentimes we'll see players adjust up here in the north. It is our red Celestial player, currently up 1-0 in this best of 5 season 1 finals of Alpha Navigator Cup. He is Nicoract. I probably am going to change the pronunciation of his name every couple of minutes, and that's okay, guys. That's how it works. But spawning in the south, it is our blue Infernal player. Currently down 0-1 in this best of 5. He is Bosse. Now, there is a couple of ways you can play this map. We've seen some very aggressive openings. Sometimes people even rush Shroud Stones against their opponents. We're not seeing any of that here. We're getting over here, getting the initial scout off, and going to recall back at home. We're seeing almost like a classic style of this map as Infernal on Broken Crown. You're going to be destroying the trees. You're going to be setting up for this third position base to start pumping out units, getting yourself in a position to start creeping up. Utilizing the meat farm. We've talked about this before, just how important it is if you're trying to learn this game, utilizing your bases as an Infernal player to be able to sit here and gather up and use things like your Fell Hogs to help tank for you here. And now we see going for a heavy Iron Vault opening. So the reasoning behind this and delaying your Conclave here is because you get to be the dominant force on the map. Utilize a big Fiend army with this, and you're just so beefy, all right? It's slower, all right, but you can absorb so many more hits using all of these brutes to get out here and start creeping and taking over the watchtowers. Now, we see, of course, our power banks getting set up here, but we're also setting up for that quick third base. With the way that this creeps setup is, we've got our creation chamber set up, already locking down our speed camp, so we're getting a lot of speed very quickly to be able to start moving out and creeping. So both players are kind of going in opposite directions of each other to start taking out the creep camp. You see kind of this line of blue on the left. We're going to see a line of red on the right-hand side here. But again, opening up with a lot of Argents, and we're going for a triple creation chamber opening here this time around. So going to be going for a very aggressive start to it. It's also a smaller map than the last map, so you getting out there early will allow you to kind of have this forward momentum to start producing from and pushing from. And this is allowing, of course, our Infernal player to get over here and get some information. He's going to see exactly where the creation chambers are. So this is that kind of, both players are aware of what's happening. They're seeing, oh, you're on my side of the map, I'm on your side of the map, what's going to end up happening? But if you lose your production facilities here, it's going to be even harder to deal with. So we do see this kind of start wailing on these structures as much as possible. The Argents are now walking into the front door here. Thank you for the follows. Appreciate you guys liking the channel and the stream today. But let's keep going with this cast here, because what are you going to do when the Argents are knocking at your front door here? You're going to scramble. You're pulling the imps off here to try to deal with this. You've got the Hexen back at home to help out. In the meantime, any reinforcements that are coming out are going to start getting cleaned up by the Fiends. So Brutes now popping out. The Conclave finished up, and now we're in scramble mode. Both players are just all micro all the time. But look at this. We do see the Arc Ship coming to try to help, but Fiends coming in, trying to surround and trap these units in here. The Hexen moving forward. Now we see Gaunt's popping out, and we can start dealing some extra damage. We really need to hurt this one that's got that reveal, because it will turn into another Fiend here. More Argents coming out in the process, but we lost so much production behind this rush here that it's going to be so hard to deal with. More Brutes coming in from that third base here to try to deal with Fiends, just shredding the front line. They don't have as much health, but they're dealing quite a lot of damage early, and this is that hardy Brute army that you can kind of construct here. Basically allows you to have two forces to be able to pop out and deal extra damage. There's the power bank get it on. We're really committed to this push right now here. And we're saying, I'm going to be ending this game with this push here. I'm committed 100% to this. There's the next little Hexen Skull coming out here, trying to get a hit off, turn into another Fiend here, and we're going for that recharge. Think of these like shield batteries, but instead of recharging shields, they're recharging that energy to deal extra damage. Once these units are out of energy, they almost tickle with how much damage that they do here. So there's another effigy. We're getting additional armor and health. We want to kind of start recharging that extra health that these units have access to here, and got to be very careful microing and keeping each unit alive. But a second power bank has been added in. We see the recharge, that purple beam charging up as much energy as possible. But so far, Bosse's having that defensive advantage, helping him out because all of his production able to just keep recharging and popping out more and more units. So we're pushing these units back. Another Argent came out. A big benefit that happened to this and denial of this push was the fact that those Fiends were able to get in and wrap around the additional production, right? We went from having 3 of those creation chambers now to just this one forward location here. But we see the Morph Cores coming in, going to be trying to add in some extra damage to this here. And if the Gaunt count gets too low, this Morph Core could be the one that helps turns the tide in this process here. And we do see Nice microing back and forth between both players here. But the amount of troops is so low on both sides, and both of them are really in this panic mode, trying to take control of each individual unit. Make sure you're pulling back weakened units, making sure that you're staying alive. Just so close on who is going to be coming out on top in this match here. Supplies just 23, 24, very close between both these. But these effigies making a big difference for helping to recharge that extra health, and that's a big part. He says, okay, I'll fall back for a little bit, get my next wave of units, come in, see if it's enough to deal with this. The arc ship's still here, still adding additional power. The power bank's helping out, still powering up these Argents. Another Brute gets added to the mix here, and things are looking a little bit tougher. This base has not been able to start mining from here in the moment. And, emergency Shroud Stone coming out. That's going to make a huge difference here. The Gaunt is sitting here dealing with the Arc Ship. The Shroud Stone trying to deal with the Power Bank, but the amount of Power Banks starting to build up at this base is insane. It's going to make these Argents so much stronger here. But the Brute count, keep close eye. Remember, they are the meat shield, the front line. There was that infest ability that went down, that big circle that you had to watch out for. Dodge that, because it will start infesting all these units, and when they die, they will start turning into additional fiends for the Infernal army. But oh my gosh, we started mining. We're feeling comfortable enough to start mining. We're in that panic mode of we need extra resources here to keep up and keep defending against this. The Hexen, oh my gosh, getting really low here, and look, the Gaunt's getting single targeted down. Very good targeting coming out right now from our Celestial player here, but really committed his way forward here. A couple of the Argents getting a couple extra shots off. The Brutes, again, they have a one big swing, one big damage, but they are so slow to get close enough to actually get their hits. So many Argents hits are taking place before the Brutes get at least one hit in there. But the numbers are starting to deplete again. We're seeing a regular Shroud Stone get constructed. He's really going to try to hold the line right here and do his best. Another set of Fiends pop out as the Brute splits in half as he's in this kind of micro-intensive battle here in game number 2. And both players are not giving up. The Power Bank here is helping out, but the Shroud Stone is done, so we can start just dealing additional pot shots over here, start to get rid of one of those Power Banks for free. We also have this little bit of protection to help defend the shrine. The problem is there's nothing down on the south side to defend it, and the Argents have taken over the front of the base completely. Oh, Gaunts pop out, but again, they are so weak. They deal so much damage, but they have no armor to defend themselves with, and they get immediately single targeted down. That's great targeting there from our Celestial player, but Bosse is still producing Brutes, still has that frontline beefy army to prevent this base from falling, and he's mining. He says, I'm okay with this. I know you have your second base up to keep producing from here, so I have to really make sure that I hold the line here. He's got to be careful about the Gaunts, and there we go. Immediately targets one down, but he pulls it back just in time here. Brutes able to start wailing while those Argents try to chase down the Gaunts. More and more Brutes coming in here. Is the defender's advantage going to be enough, or the amount of power banks going to be too much? Oh, secondary Shroud Stone coming up here. Emergency Shroud Stone pops in and starts dealing that extra burst of DPS that our Infernal player needed, and it looks like that is enough. GG gets called as our Argents fall. And we get a nice tie up here in this series, 1-1. What an aggressive opening. That really came down to Bosse being able to identify that this rush was coming, being able to take out one of the Shroud Stone. If there were three creation chambers, if there were 3 creation chambers in that rush, Bosse would have died so much faster. I keep hiding behind my Alpha Navigator Cup logo that's posted up here, but yeah, so very exciting for game number 2 there. This is a best of 5 in the Alpha Navigator Cup's final. So thanks for everybody for tuning in for this. Of course, you can be able to check out the Match Arena link there. We have, of course, if you have an account, it's free to sign up. You can link your Twitch account to it. If you've watched any other RTSs, you know, like back in the StarCraft days, we'd use Match Arena quite a bit because you could just give extra bonus points there. So awesome. Thanks for the follows. Glad people are enjoying it. We've got more games to come though, so we'll be jumping into game 3 momentarily. Just want to take a moment to shout out Alpha Navigator Cup, of course, run by the amazing Adiko. He has, of course, been organizing. We've been watching and casting up the weeklies, and this is the final. This is the chance that all the players have been working towards to try to earn money at this event, because all the other events have been for points. If you get enough points, you get to play in the finals. Spawning up here, oh, another classic. Spawning up here in the north, representing our Infernal hosts. taking game, the last game we saw, with a nice solid defense. It is Bosse. The double Iron Vault opening again, and his opponent spawning over in the south, representing the Celestials. He is Nicoract. All right, somebody that was paying more attention to me. Which game are we in? So like the replays, like we get some information, but not as much as I would like. But, you know, they're still working on the replay system here. Oh my gosh, we're going for a very fast Starforge opening. So this is going to be very cool. We've seen this. This was a very powerful build a little bit ago, the Vector opening. There are these very fast-moving like land speeders that have this blink ability, and this map is a very short map, right? Our Secluded Grove map, if you're familiar with it, it's got a very wide open natural location here. And we're seeing this Meat Farm Shroudstone, but part of that is that information that we got. Because we had the Hexen out there, we knew this was coming. But look, the Vector is going to come in here and try to fight over this here. So he's going to be doing his best to kind of zip around, kite around here, and look, the Brute will like almost never catch him if he's paying attention here. So we're going to see this nice little micro battle take place between these two players here. And look, bam, there's the blink. So gets the Brute to be killed off, and we'll be able to kind of zip around and continue to try to deal extra damage. Oh, he trades off, but killing the Hexen is huge here because that kind of limits the amount of additional troops that could be coming out here. But look at the Fiends coming in. They're going to try to get this round. This is going to be a little bit harder because you still can get the blink off here. So we're just getting that kind of little pot shots, dealing damage to the Fiends and kind of trading them off. It is kind of this like back and forth little micro. And oh, with the Healing Flower, back up to full health, no problem. But this forward location is going to be very important for this match here. It's going to be very hard for both players to get an expansion set up here in these early micro-intensive battles. So we're going to be seeing how well things work out. Yeah, just staying on the one base, adding in the Conclave, and we're going to want to take over this healing factor because this is going to be the forward location that Nicoract is going to be focused on. He's saying, this is where I need to go for. This is what I need to make sure that I lock down and keep healing up and keep being ready. Also, every time he's killing some of these troops, he's getting that additional set of resources that he can continue to produce more and more vectors in this. A third one's just popping out now, but again, look at that. Boom, aggressive blink to start cleaning up the remaining Fiends, and now he can easily secure this health shrine here to allow to make sure all of his vectors are back to full health. And even these ones that were in 50, 60 health there that he's like, oh my gosh, they almost died. No problem. Let's heal it up. Let's get ready for that next stage here. And this, like we talked about, is the forward location that we're going to keep rallying more and more troops over towards so we can go for the aggressive push up this way. And there's not many troops over here to kind of defend against this here. We've got the Shroudstone that's going to help out, the Fell Hogs as well as the extra damage from that. And, oh, the Imp came over here who's like, okay, I want to get ready to try to expand, but it's really dangerous to do so. This is really smart, though. Knowing that your opponent is going for the vectors, he wants to be in your face, wants to be aggressive. Let's try to set up for a nice little defensive forward location for that. In the meantime, we're just going to see kind of the traditional stuff you see over on the Celestial sides, kind of just utilizing the resources, has the creation chambers to help get the Starforge up, but not really utilizing anything other than this blink vector. And look at that. That's what I hate to see happen as an Infernal player. The reveal comes down as that top bar ability there, gets into the base, and you can just get in, harass, deal all the damage that you want, and be able to run away when things get too crazy. And here comes the rest of the army coming its way forward here, and we'll just start doing our pot shots, blink, 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 boom, 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 and get close to the edge and blink on out of there. But, oh, catches a couple of the vectors in the process here, but we're all focusing in on the Gaunts. Remember, that's the high DPS of the Infernal army. There's the Fiends coming in, and there's the blink. Gets on out. This is that frustrating comp to have to fight against, right? It's very fast paced, very tough to deal with because you are utilizing your blink ability, you're getting in people's faces, but the Fiends can now try to get over here and take back control of this location. We'll see, of course, the center shroud or center watchtower here, the vision tower, get taken over by these vectors as well here. But we're not going to stop with vector production. This is kind of that very committed push utilizing the blink. You have a smaller map so you can be able to get all over it with this ability here. And look, Fiend's going to be zipping on back. They say, okay, we'll abandon this. This could allow him to be able to go over and try to take the vision. That's dangerous as well, but, you know, at some point you're going to have to be able to notice when each camp is getting taken. and respond accordingly. How much longer before he gets this? Okay, I was like, he's banking up quite a bit of resources here and going to be really trying to utilize this extra Luminite mine to kind of help push him towards the next stage of the game, which is going to be very tough because that vector count is getting higher and higher, and we're going to try to get in and go for the denial here as our Celestial player. And he's going to try to park himself in a good enough position to not have to worry too much about the Shroud Stone. The Fell Hog's going to be nice as a little additional defense, but there's not much of a fighting force here. You had to spend so much Luminite on this additional shrine that you're now kind of really relying on the Shroud Stone here to protect it. And he knows that he can't really overcommit. If he overcommits in there and tries to deny this, he'll lose his whole army in the process. So it's this kind of dance that he's got to be able to do to make sure that he's in a good spot, that he can be able to push and pull and still put the fear in its opponent. Hey, I'm here. You still have to be scared of me but not overcommitting. Now, we do, of course, have our Ritual Chamber up, getting the Plague Axes, which is extremely important for our Gaunt's next little power-up for the additional damage that they want to do. There's the reveal, and that's the information that you need as the Infernal player. Pay close attention to your bases to know when the blink is coming out. So you see they're glowing like this. This is kind of giving that indication their blink is on cooldown. They're not able to blink again, allowing us to deal additional damage. And look at them. They're trying to move their way on out, but they are going to be trapped over here. There's a plague going down. That's huge. There's the blink trying to kind of reposition, killing off more and more Gaunts, but the Brute's getting a lot of pot shots on a lot of these vectors here. So now he's going to be able to kind of move and maneuver his way on over here, get himself over in the corner where he can still do additional damage and blink on out. But that was a really solid defense here from Bosse. So able to secure his natural expansion. In the meantime, no natural is up and running right now. We haven't gotten the center. We haven't really gotten anything else. So we're all in on the one base vector style of play here. And we're doing a little bit of damage, but we're not really able to do any economic damage in the process. So pay close attention to the supplies, pay close attention to the amount of resources that we're going to start seeing from both players here. You're going to start to see both continue to skyrocket more and more the longer this game goes on. The amount of vectors here is nice. This harassment style is very good and would kill a lesser player. All right, that harassment in and out, that multitasking skills that you put your opponent to the test. Hey, can you keep up with this? Yes or no? And many players will crumble on it on the ladder. But because these players are playing in this big event like this, they, of course, have practiced this. They fought this on the ladder. They know what they need to do here. And there's the army going to come out here and say, no, I feel comfortable enough with the amount of brutes that I've got that I can try to fight this location here. Now, this is that kind of risk. How much do you still have back at home to defend this? Vector's going to reposition, going to take that watchtower again, the vision camp, allowing him to kind of get a little bit more information. But we know exactly where the army is going to be. And look, a couple of Gaunts moving their way forward here. Now, they do have their Plague Axes. There's the effigy. It always gets so weird hitting it right on the ramp where you're like, it should be up here. But vision doesn't show up, but it's still there. It's still helping them out. There's a nice little blink, but it's not enough. And those Plague Axes making all the difference in defending against this push. Now you see this kind of close micro back and forth, but look at the supplies we were talking about. Down to 19 here. We've committed all into this vector play, and it is not enough to really be able to kind of help us in this location here. We're scrambling, but in the meantime, we're able to kind of ascend those camps, take control of them using our top bar abilities there, send those camps on up, capture them immediately with that, and allowing our Infernal player to start creeping out. He feels comfortable. He feels safe. So safe that he's going to be getting even further ahead by taking a third base here. So that old saying, when ahead, get further ahead. All right. The other saying is, say, when you're ahead, go kill your opponent. But this is a little risky and dangerous to get over here with your full army because it kind of makes your other bases vulnerable. But he knows he can get away with this because of how much damage he has done. There's not many vectors left out on the map. And yeah, we see just kind of the massive power bank build up here. We're getting into our Ascension Matrix, the Legion Hall. We're getting into those higher tech structures to really kind of commit into things here, but continuing to take over creep camps, continuing to utilize our vectors to get information out on the map. But this is a very tough spot for Nicoract to be in. He's going to be continuing to take over, but It's only a matter of time before the economy for Bosse is too overwhelming for our Celestial player to keep up with. So more camps getting taken over here. We see more brutes, more fiends getting that, or more gaunts getting added into the mix here, as we've of course got our Twilight Spire, additional production coming down, and now we feel comfortable enough that we can move out here. The gaunts though are ready. They've got both their upgrades. They got the increased speed to help chase these units down. They've got their plague axes to start infesting these units, and now we're locking down this, and it says nope, that's it. I'm tapping out. I can't fight this army, and we're gonna give that GG's. We see Bosse take another game in this series. Very, very cool stuff. I mean, like we said, that is a very specific build that players go for on that map because of how easy it is to blink inside the main base and get in and deal that harassment and kind of blink back and, you know, distract them. And we talked about a lesser player, or if you've done this strategy on the ladder, if you're a Celestial player, learn that build. It's very powerful. It's very tough to kind of deal with, especially with players learning the game. Bosse has put in the reps. He knew how to defend against this. He identified it with his Hexen early. That's the other key thing. Identifying that this build is coming and being able to respond accordingly. Locking down that natural expansion, utilizing that meat farm, utilizing the Shroud Stone, and saying this is my wall of defense, and I'm going to kind of build my plan around my natural expansion. And that worked out very well there for game number 3. So we've got, of course, a best of 5. This could be the last game in the series. Let's jump into it. Game number 4. Of course, this is the Alpha Navigator Cup Season 1 final. We've been getting weekly Stormgate events every Saturday for you guys to be able to enjoy, and all those players that have been earning points have been able to make it in. We've got a really exciting story set up between these two players. Bosse, of course, was doing very well in that tournament circuit, was getting top 4s, top 2s, right? Getting lots of points, locked it in at the end to be able to get into this. He's now made it to the top 8 of the Season 1 finale. Nicoract, on the other hand, didn't play as many weeklies, but played in the last chance qualifier there, which allowed him to qualify up for the main event. And now we're in it. Top 8 here, semifinals, and we've got spawning up in the north. Currently up 2-1 in this best of 5 series. It is Bosse. And his opponent, spawning in the south, representing the Blue Celestials, he is Nicoract. All right, so we're getting into another very large map. Now, if you're not familiar with this map, let's talk about it. There is the, of course, a double Illuminite expansion that is set up for both players here. If you want to be able to get access to your additional resources here, you can, but it's going to be a different base. It's so much distance between your third bases, your naturals, your main base. There's 2 pathways into your main base here, and the Hexen's coming over here trying to get the scouting information, trying to get as much information as possible about what is going on. Where are you? What are you hiding with? It goes, okay, I don't see any structures in here, but I can't stay around too long. I'm going to go and recall back home so I can start creeping up and utilizing that, of course, skull ability to start infesting. You see, as soon as they get infested with it, they are revealed, and that when they die, we will be able to get that extra little bit of fiends to help power it up. Oh, very close, very close. Missed out on it, but we got to see, of course, continuing to use that ability here. Now, we're going to be having a very big power up here. Look how quickly he is rushing to the double collection array. Says, I'm really locking in this Luminite. My guess is he's fallen back on what he did before as powering up as a very, very strong Argent army and move out from there. You could go for the Kree here because it's such a large map and utilizing their speed to roll around, but we'll wait and see where Nicoract feels comfortable on here. It's not going to be the same Blink style of play that we saw. I'm going to be predicting a heavier ground force, and more than likely not also adding in the Sice later in the game. But we're not anywhere near that right now. We're in creeping mode. Early stages as players start to progress up here. Bo's identifying what's going on, will be taking out his own expansion in the process here and going for that double Luminite. Big part of that is because he goes for this Iron Vault, and the Brutes are expensive. They cost a lot of that Luminite, so getting that out now is going to help out. But look at this, capturing all these different shrines here, getting that extra health, getting the extra resources from it is going to be very important. Yep, there's the Argent count starting to build up over here for our Celestial player as he's going to do his own creeping as he sees we slowly reduce the amount of energy and start tickling those units there. Both players kind of identifying. You'll see that kind of this spray of blue on the left-hand side, the spray of red on the right-hand side as the camps start to get captured up. But we're going to start to see the first contention take place in the center over the health camp here, which is like, hey, this is my side of the map, right? If we cut the map along the center across this river here, we could say, okay, the top versus the bottom, right? If you remember the old school Brood War styles, that was a game mode that you could be able to play. But that is a large Fiend count here, and he's trying to use that mobility to his advantage, get in there, identify exactly what's going on, and seeing that is important. Going, okay, so you're falling back on game one strategies. You're going for this heavy Argent play. I just kind of have to be aware of it and go from there. But the amount of power that is producing for Nicoract is making things so easy. Look how fast these Argents are coming in, right? 50% faster because of this surge in power, making things so much easier for him to continue this production here. But, oh, the Fiends found a little angle to get in here, sneak in here, and look at this. Oh, a Guardian Nexus. Now, they will not be able to deny the upgrade, of course, because you see that nice little Sovereign's Watch coming out here to add some defense in the process here, making sure that you cannot go in. We're turning this structure into a defensive tower for this temporary amount of time. And Fiend's trying to find an angle to get in there, but they're kind of being aware, okay, I see what you're doing. I can't really do much about it to push in at this angle, losing a couple Fiends, but they're doing their job. Their job right now is to identify what is happening on your opponent's side of the map. What are they doing? Where are they? All that kind of good stuff. But a couple of them are going to get caught again. But this is forcing your opponent to be up here, right? This is one of those situations where you're like, how much can you get away with this? And will he catch the army in this vision? Does actually. Catches it. Look how big this circle is for being able to see where the army is at. So now we're in this, okay, we have to get ready. We've got to use all of our resources we've committed to this to get a big army up and ready to defend. We're at the natural ready to defend, but what's back at home? Nothing. This is the downside to this large map, right? Where you're in this scramble mode of how do I defend against this? And all those Fiends are on the other side of the map, not able to do much to help defend here. The Fiends, oh my gosh, are running back home. The Imps come in to try to help out, but then they reposition. They say, nope, we're in mining mode. Let's do this. Some Fell Hogs helping out, but oh, taking out one of his supplies. Does not supply cap him here. We're in this scramble. Try to reinforce, get our army up and ready. And look at this big power up here. Let's surge this army ready to go. And we're locked in. It's kind of trapped in this location, but the amount of troops that are coming out of the main base is not a lot here. And there's the Infest. None of them are moving through it, so he's got to be very careful here. But is there enough Fiends? The Fiends coming back, but with all this power up here for the Celestial Army, the Gaunt count is very low, hitting at a great timing to kind of bust his way in here. This is kind of that downside and dangers to this large map here where you've got to be careful and you have to kind of be ready and defensive on so many fronts here. And he found that angle where he could be able to move in. Now the Shroudstone helping out. Going to help be defensive here. Some Fiends coming in. Imps even coming off the line here. But look, a next wave of Argents has regrouped up with this army. The Brutes are so slow. They're not able to lumber their way forward to get the hits that they need to hit. And the Argents are able to just kind of micro their way back. And look at this. Taking apart even more Imps in the process here. A couple of them getting weakened down here. But the amount of energy we've got is going to start depleting soon. So he's got to be careful as the Brutes are going to get even further forward here. We've really got to utilize that little bit of resources we've got. We've got this base up and running, but the Imps aren't mining from it, so this is a huge push that we're able to do. We're stopping our opponent from utilizing their bases that they've got set up. We're getting all of our resources pumped into Argents and having a very aggressive push. And look at this little ping as they kind of are trying to micro and reposition and pull their troops back to kind of defend, but the army begins to crumble, and the Imps are now the main fighting force in this army. A couple Gaunts show up, but they are not prepared for this battle here. Yes, they've got Plague Axes, but they don't have the speed. They don't have all the damage to help support this. Shroudstone does finish up, though, so this might be good. A second emergency Shroudstone gets dropped down here, and that might be the amount that he needs to hold this line, but so much damage has been done. Look at the amount of Imps that are left mining at this base, and it's only a amount of time before the Argents decide to just go back up to the main base. Yes, we have Shroud Stones here, which is good. You want to have those defensive structures. Again, you kind of have to like watch two spots at once. But, ooh, we're going to try to utilize the camps. We pull them back to our base where we can be able to get as much damage. And there's the reveal. He's looking, he's trying to see, okay, where are the camps? Where is your army? What's going on? How much of it do you have? And look at this. Gets out of the way of that infestability, that big old circle that you see trying to infest these units, weaken them down to turn them into, oh my gosh, into those fiends. But look, nice single targeting, going for the Gaunts, knowing that that's the damage that he needs to worry about, knowing that the infestability is scary, and he's all in on this micro style of play here, going back and forth, picking apart units as they spawn, and making Bosse panic, essentially, trying to stay alive, trying to utilize the little bit of resources that he's got to hold the line here. And look, had his units on hold position so they wouldn't go chasing these units around and dying for nothing. But the initial push worked out great. So we're going to fall back to the center, take advantage of our large army. We're in that, okay, we can't just kill you outright. You're such a good defensive player, so let's power up and get ready for this kind of next push. One way to do that is to heal up our troops. And look, we see Bosse go, okay, where are you? I need more information. I need more resources. I'm going to go for the closest camp that I can to try to get that extra information, try to get all of the vision and all the resources off this camp. And he's going to get over here, and he's going to be seeing the Argent count is going to be way too much for him to deal with. Now we're in this scramble to run back home and try to defend against it. Again, this is that like, okay, well, now I can't really move out on the map. All right, I've got to just wait and kind of tunnel up, turtle up, and be ready for that next big push that's come to try to hold the line again. We get the speed, which is really nice. This speed camp is going to make all the difference in this next fight, right? If the Argents take control of this, that'll allow him to kind of micro even harder in this. But we see Fiends trying to come in, just confirming. Okay, you're still here? Okay, you're still here. But again, we could see the split. We could see troops start to move up towards the main base. But he says, no, this is the place that I got to fight. This is where your big forward location is. You've got your resources coming in this way. Your economy is all reliant on this base. But look, sneaks his way up, gets some speed, moves his way back. He also doesn't want to like overcommit and just like lock himself in this. But if you send like one Argent over here, it'll help you just like try to recapture this location. Problem is, like, the ring is a little bit larger. We cannot see it on the replay, so these brutes that are here are also blocking that from being captured. So it's not like a easy just, oh, one troop there will be fine. No, you kind of got to force yourself into a different position there. But, oh, he's feeling good, feeling like this is the time we throw down the effigy to kind of help us out, add that extra little bit of armor to these troops and kind of force them in there. This is now our next forward location here, but the amount of Argents are getting higher and higher. Are we getting the additional tech up? Oh, we are. The Anomancers, the Legion Hall, they have been added to the mix here. So keep a close eye. We're going to start seeing the black holes get dropped down here. And look at this, sucking in so many of these troops here. They're taking so much extra damage. Any troops that try to move through it get slowed down, and it is a channel ability. So you can interrupt it if you had things like Magmadons or stuff like that. We don't. We've got the Hellborns added in for extra DPS, but that's not enough. And look at these Gaunts getting shredded in the black hole. There's the Magmadons getting added in, but it's a little too late here. Imps getting pulled in, recruited to fight in this battle, and it is not going to be enough for them to kind of deal all the damage they want. We got a big power up. There's the Magmadon moving his way forward here. This is a small tunnel to try to fight his way through here, and not really what you want to see happening, but the Hellborns helping out with the additional splash damage coming out here. No more Magmadons are there. We see kind of that panic, trying to micro, trying to ping his way around here, but look at this. The Hellborn gets cleaned up. The Argents overwhelming this location, saying, no, I'm not going to let you have this, and there we see GG. Nicoract ties it up with the 2-2 match there. going for the Argent play. We talked about it. He used it in game 1. It helped him get the lead in the series, and we've got to see him use it in game 4 to tie things up in this series. What a strong kind of base power mode to go for. You're just relying on your economy. You're relying on your micro skills to be able to kind of get in and maneuver. Because we were on that specific map, it's such a large map. There's so many pathways that you can go for. That Isle of Dread is so large, such a big difference between where your main base and where your natural is. It makes it so hard to defend and protect both those locations at once. And we saw that, and that was a big difference on why the Argents were able to zip their way up into the main base, deal a bunch of damage, and got caught in this weird power-up mode where, okay, we're trying to commit so much to our production, to our upgrades, to these things that our Infernal army needs to get to the next stage, that we had a very small army where the Celestials got to get their expansion up so quickly. They could afford to be able to rush up and just go purely Argent and rely on their mobility, their damage to kind of get over, take over the map, and keep the pressure on the Infernal player as long as possible, right? Allow us to get over and take over the camps. So it was a very, very tough position for Bosse to be in. But we are going to be going into our 5th game. This is the decider map. The winner of this moves on to the upper bracket final. The loser is not out because we are in the top 8. They get dropped down to the lower bracket here. So Bosse map pick. What's it going to be? What's it going to be? Let's see. As we jump in. This is, of course, the Alpha Navigator Cup final. Season 1 final, that is, and we're going to be showing you guys a lot of great games. Jagged Maw, whoa. We're getting into it, everybody. Jagged Maw, if you guys remember, this was the controversial map of the beta, all right, because of the siege camps and how aggressive that you could be. So we're going to be jumping into the final map between these two players to determine who makes it into the winter bracket final, spawning up in the north. It is our red celestial players, known as Nicoract, taking over this forward location. Kind of normal thing you do on Jagged Maw. We'll start to see structures get produced over at this ramp here. But his opponent spawning in the south, representing the blue Infernal host. He is Bosse. All right, the Hexen walking his way through the center path here. Of course, there is this set of trees. Brutes cannot fit through this. Hexens can. Fiends can. All right, all your smaller units are able to kind of maneuver through this tree line. You can, of course, destroy it if you would like, but that is one thing to note. It is a very small map, very short rush distance compared to anything else. You can be able to, of course, destroy these center rocks. These are basically like trees on any other map. So you can mine them. You can destroy them if you want. But our camps that used to be the big contention point here are a little bit hardier, a little bit harder to deal with, to take over. We're seeing the normal build-up, the normal setup between these players here. All right, both going to be creeping, getting themselves ready. We're seeing the expansion get dropped down, and we're not going for the double Iron Vault play. I like this. I like the pivot, going for the Conclave, going for the Iron Vault. It's a very short map, very small map, so utilizing and getting up all of our gaunts early for that extra DPS is going to be nice, and we're going to be really heavy creeping early with this. We're going to get in, we're going to try to get across the map and try to get some information, try to get some damage done with this, and be the one putting the pressure on. So we're going to get over there, start on this siege camp. So the last couple games, Nicoract has been our one being the aggressor. This time, Bosse is saying, I'm going to utilize the power of the Infernal army and swarm you quickly. More and more fiends going to get added into the army with that infest ability, and this is going to be a very aggressive start to this. Now he's got control of this speed camp. Now are we going for, yep, Argent's going to get added into the mix. Our power banks really helping out to speed up the production of the Argents. So this is that kind of, all right, we'll build up a heavy creation count. We're going to build up and start getting our economy going with our collection arrays. We're going to start adding prisms into here and just kind of go for that solid defensive play here as a Celestial player. Once he gets up to a strong enough count, he can start moving out and stuff, but we see Watchtowers getting taken. More and more units getting produced. The Conclave helping out with the Gaunts. Iron Vault's there, but Shrine is coming out behind this. So this is not like a one base all in. This is, we're going to utilize the size of the map and get out on the map and start to apply pressure as quickly as possible. And there we do see, let's go in, see if we can find what's going on with the enemy. The Argents are here. It's dangerous to push in at this location, right? A Sovereign's Watch could pop out. The amount of power banks here. This is not kind of what you want to be seeing, but this kind of gives you the information to go, oh, okay, you're very defensive. You're very scared right now. So I can just continue to take over the map, continue to take the few camps that this map has, and be able to take over the center, because this is the normal place that players would have to meet if they're going to move across the map, unless you take out the trees in the center. So this is the kind of key location that players need to worry about. You get, of course, get the extra resources that are here with Ethereum Mine, as well as our Vision Camp. So having both these Watchtowers is really, really nice. We'll get the Speed Camp. Again, all of these extra resources are just making things easier. We've got the Ritual Chamber coming down, additional Conclave. The Greater Shrine will be following it up after this, but it's all Argents all the time. We got the upgrade. Okay, Guardian Nexus is going to be coming up and immediately starting up our Photon Restoration. We talked about how good this is. That increases the movement speeds of the Argent and helps them with their out of energy recharge ability. So once they run out of energy, their guns do like no damage. So being able to deal a bunch of damage while you have that full energy, fall back, recharge it up. Also, the speed that they get from it is really helpful here, but this is our ready. Our ready army is now moving out, but behind all this, while you're moving out and taking towers, we've got a little bit of a slip by here trying to get information and scout out, because we've got our next collection array taking over the center. Getting that information is important, right? We know, okay, you're taking your third base, I'm taking my third base in the process here, or going to be getting ready to take my third base in the process here, but have to be aware of what you're up to. So we are going for this nice little, hey, I'm going to get away with the UI shenanigans here. The Argents, though, are going to try to come and catch this. The Brutes have to come over here and catch him and stop him from doing this. The only path to get up there is way over here, though. So look at this. We see a meat farm getting added in here. Shroud Stone's going to lock this area down, and he can just keep raining destruction from above as he kites this back and forth. Confuse Skull Squasher. Arden's trying to find a way to get around there and try to sneak their way up over towards the natural, but look at this. Now we get access to a little rocket launcher tank. Boom, boom, boom. Speed Camp is up here. That big boost in power is going to be very nice. Now you look at it, the health 300, 300. If you're paying attention, if you're dodging things, it's not going to be too bad. But Hellborn's even getting added to the mix. So we're going to hit a very nice timing attack as we get our next wave of next higher tier units added into this army to kind of go forward here. Now pay close attention to these speeds of these Argents. Having access to that speed camp. Oh no, he's going to catch it. Look at this. Oh my gosh, almost was able to kind of pounce on, did a little bit of extra damage, but the Fiend's going to try to surround a lot of these. There's the effigy coming down to help make sure that he's got all of this extra health in these units here, that extra armor that we need, and nice little microing, killing that healing flower. Boom, healing up these units, full health here. And oh my gosh, in the meantime, rocket launchers coming out from both players. Boom, immediately spams it, gets it on the Brute, and it's all going to come down to how well you micro this. Both these tanks are going to come up forward here and start wailing on each other. So the extra damage from the Hellborn is going to be nice here to help make sure that he can kill his opponents off. And now it's one tank versus another. But this is going to continue to move forward. You do not control this. It moves on its own. NPC able to just kind of roll its way across the map here. Now we're going to be moving forward. But the army is healing up. It's got control of the health tower. There's the next rocket. Just microing back. No problem. Effigy's coming forward here, but the army is getting very small. Yes, there's a lot of Gaunts. That's a lot of damage, but the front line is basically non-existent. This army is not strong enough to be able to bust through this with all the Argents, with all the power banks here. So he's got to identify this and start to retreat, and he does. Especially now that you see the Anomancers in here, that Gaunt count is going to be dangerously low as soon as one of those black holes start landing here. So you need to identify what your opponent's going for and start getting those Magmadons up to kind of respond to this. This army is very powerful and very strong damage, but has no meat shield, no wall in front of it to stop all of those Argents from getting close. Now, Anomancer's Black Hole ability is a channel ability. So that is something that you have to kind of make note of, that it's something that, oh, I don't have to worry so much. If I can get on top of these units and stop them from channeling, then I'll be okay. It's a lot to have to ask for, though, but we do see continuing to fight over this center. Being active, very important, but you have to be careful. That Argent army is very scary. Look at the supplies. All right, we're seeing just how strong this Argent army is going to get, especially with the speed. It's going to be very hard to keep up with them. Where are our Magmadons, though? Do we not have the resources for it? We are struggling to get the resources that we need here. And part of that is that we are just now getting our third base up, and the army is moving up, wants to take back the center. Now we're in this scramble mode. We're trying to get this forward location of the Shroud Stone, but this is a dangerous spot to be in. An Imp? What are you doing, Imp? That's a dangerous spot to go. I mean, it's nice to kind of lock this area down. Yeah, look at this. He immediately goes, nope, just kidding. I'm not here. I'm running away. He will get picked up in the process, but... Oh, there's the reveal. He knows where the army is. Magmadons trying to reposition themselves to the front. How are our Imps doing? Or Gaunts have full upgrades. Reaper's Rush and Plague Axes in the process here. So they are moving faster. They've got the Infest ability. There is that Ascension. We get to take over this camp and get access to that Therium Tower. More and more Anomancers added into the mix. I like that transition of going, I have very hardy early set of units with the Argents. I'm getting the upgrades, so they're faster. They recharge better. They're going to do very well about that kind of micro back and forth, right? The stutter stepping style of play, but we have a danger push coming across here. Argents moving in. There is no base here, so we don't have to worry about that. The dangers is, yes, we got some Shroud Stones, but if too much of the army comes back over here to defend this, that means that this army can move over here. So it's going to be very interesting to see how well Bosse responds to this push. There's the reveal, and he's going to move his way forward here. There is the Shroud Stones. The first, of course, emergency one did get taken out. The second one is going to go down. The whole army is coming over here to respond. Pay close attention. There's the reaction. He's waiting for it. He knew exactly where the army was. Now we're going to come over here and take out the Shroud Stones you've got there, forcing Bosse to fall back, which then, in turn, lets this army be able to move back into the natural. This is his push and pull. How well can you respond to this? Can you have two armies in two places at once? Can you keep up with this macro or this micro battle? It's going to be dangerous. More Shroud Stones going to have to get added in here for protection. More meat farms coming out as well. Of course, the Fell Hogs will help to kind of create a wall, slow things down. We're going to get the speed camp to help allow us to kind of move back and forth. But this kind of like build up here, this is the big scary army that we have to worry about. This one is annoying and can cause a lot of damage if left unchecked, but we have to be more concerned with this center location here. And you can look at just the amount of red that's on the map, both with the towers, both with the armies, that this is going to be a dangerous spot to be in. Oh, Shroud Stone's trying to get added in. A base trying to go down. There's the reveal. Seeing, oh, the Anomancers. Great Black Hole ability, stopping these units from getting forward here, but we've got the Hellborns helping to run the block. We're splitting our army up, making sure that we can kind of hold the line here. In the meantime, more and more prisms getting added in. The Luminite Mines taken over. We're getting all of the bases secured over here for Nicoract. It's really this kind of heavy defensive style of play. And what? We're getting the... What are you doing with this Arc Fortress, sir? Danger zone. Danger mode. Oh my gosh. What is this? What is this? Oh my gosh. He's just saying, yeah, I'm gonna just like right click on your shrine and just take it out here. Corrosive Guts. Reduced armor. Oh my, what the heck was that? And he gets out? What? Oh my gosh, that was insane. Hey, you don't get a second base anymore. And this Argent army is going to continue to distract you because the actual main army is coming over here and denying your fourth base. So now you're essentially on one base. Right, two bases, but still. This is that kind of panic mode. Let's power our way through here. Again, brutes cannot follow through this unless you use the Magmadons to attack it. But in the meantime, there's the main army coming in here. We're going to take out all the expansion, force Bosse to go all in here and basically to deal with this. And this is that, like, my army is not ready for this. In the meantime, guess what? The Scythe transition that's been sneaking up, building up at home, is ready to take out all the shrines. This just, hey, you're not going to have any bases left after this. And we do see this kind of big fight over in the center. Animancers coming, dropping their black holes. Magmadon's getting on top of the army. Brute's getting on top of the army. And we see that kind of panic mode. Let's get Gaunts back at home, but we also need enough forces over here to deal with this. And the Animancer's still left alive. That's the danger part. But looks like the ground force is going to win for Bosse here. In the meantime, what are you going to do if you don't have any shrines? Oh, even bringing in our Archangel here just in case there are any scythes that get cleaned up by Gaunts. You can use the Archangel to drop down, deal some extra damage here, and slam down. Look, here they come, and immediately takes out the Greater Shrine. And look, he could just get out. Just flies his way. That's kind of that other downside to such a short distance between them. But what a crazy way to break the stalemate there. GG for Nicoract there, being able to take the series 3-2-1. What an exciting stalemate that we have for a while there, only to be crushed by the power of the Scythes, by the power of the Arc ship, like coming in there and being like, yeah, let's do a super powered push here, Scorch Earth style of play here, and be able to just start popping all of your bases. And it doesn't matter what you have there because I have such a long enough range that I can be able to hit this. Stuff like that you go, wow, this is crazy. Like, this is not the map that you want to be fighting against Celestial on, where they can be able to do stuff like that. But very, very cool stuff. Now, this is, of course, the Alpha Navigator Cup Finals. I am NanMan. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in and hanging out with us. We appreciate you sticking with us today. We've got a lot of other games set up and ready to go